Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I am Pastor Mark Baze, and it is great to have you with us on this Friday. And today's going to be kind of a fun show, a bit of a variety. We're going to talk a little bit about some theology, just kind of some broad, just overview, some observations. Then we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about Trump, just because that's a big deal right now. Are we going to buy Greenland? Are we going to take it by force? Are the French going to try to stop us? Who knows what may happen? And so we're going to have some fun conversations today, and I hope that you are excited to come along for the ride. Now, there is a chance that we might have some technical issues today. I don't know. There's a possibility of some power outage, so just bear with me. If things go down, you'll know why. And so, let's see here. The first thing that I want to remind you is this is Friday, so get ready. We are going to be having our Sunday School series, which is Deceived. That is a session picture. I was going to show you the main thing, but you know it all by now. Deceived, has Christianity become a cult? There it is. And so that's been a fun series for us. We're going to be on session number 7. Which is twisting of the scriptures. We're going to talk about that on Sunday morning and the different ways that cults twist the scripture and the different ways that, Christianity, at least mainstream Christianity, will sometimes like to twist the scriptures. And so I hope that you are going to be involved there. I just thought of it. Sometimes in the course of this show, I think of things that I need to jot down for ministry opportunities or studies and different things. So when that happens, you just kind of have to do it. Just so you know, I'm always trying to think. All right, and I don't know why, but my computer's being a little bit funny. But I just thought of something I need to cover for session number 7 on twisting the scriptures. Interpretation matters and whatnot. And then there's other ways that the scriptures are twisted as well. So I'm writing that down. That way I don't forget. There we go. All right, I've got it written down. There's a few typos in there, but I wanted to make sure I covered that. That's very important. And then, of course, we're going to be in Hosea Sunday morning. That's our Hosea verse-by-verse study. If you have not taken the time to do a deep dive into Hosea, hopefully this study is one that is worth your while to give you a good overall view. And I just think, once again, anytime you go to these Old Testament prophets, you just are reinforced with the importance of dispensational doctrine, that in order for God to keep His word, there has to be a future for Israel, and this offer that He's given them to repent and receive the kingdom. So there is that. And then Sunday night, we should be having another addition to our the most commonly misunderstood Bible teachings. And what that's going to be, I'm not entirely sure yet. We'll just have to wait. I've got to cross that bridge once I get there. I'm still worried about prepping a bunch of other things. Now, another exciting thing is, of course, the Bible conference that we are going to be having. Let me see if I can get that pulled up for you here. The Spring Bible Conference. Very excited to show that to you, share that with you. And next week, I do believe that is the plan. We are not going to be having it. That's going to be March 27th through the 29th. But the plan is to announce all the sessions. I believe that by next week I will have all of the sessions not fully prepared, but the topics, the subjects for all the sessions. There should be 7 of them, so expect to see 7 sessions. We'll have the names and everything for you to look at, and so hopefully those will pique your interest. That will give you an appetite for some good Bible study. How does that sound? And so, should be a fun time. Now, let's see here. Backing off from some theology for a moment, let's just spend a little bit of time, because, hey, this is Shields and Arrows. We understand here, okay? We are the new phase of unapologetic Christian theologians, and there was a time when pastors, Bible teachers, theologians were scared to ever go into politics because there's nothing worse than offending people. And after all, I'm not I'm voting for Jesus, right? Jesus for president, that kind of mentality. I think it shows an ignorance of the Bible. It shows a misunderstanding of our dispensation, and we need to be involved. We've got to speak honestly, clearly about matters of politics. And so I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Trump and his foreign policy. Trump has, I would probably say, come across as a very aggressive president, especially in his second term. In his first term, to a degree, he did some things, but his second term, it has been interesting. Now, there is this discussion about globalism. Obviously, I don't like globalism. You don't like globalism. We don't want globalism. And I think it's an important question, as it is very easy to critique everything a politician does, like Trump is being critiqued right now, both on the left and on the right. There's a lot of people on the right who have critiques for him as well. I do want to take a step back, though, and ask this question of, is Trump a globalist? Is he a globalist? Because I do think that globalism is the biggest threat. The United Nations, whatever other alliances may form out there, hey, we all need to sign on to these pacts and agreements and just all adhere to the same law. And then we just become this gigantic single government world order, right? And none of us want that. I know that's what the World Economic Forum wants, because then they can control everything and we'll all be eating the bugs while they still fly in their private jets and eat steak, I'm sure. Is Trump, in his policies, is he enacting a globalist agenda? And I do think this is an important question to ask, because it kind of recalibrates us, because you can get down in the weeds and you can say, well, Trump did this and Trump did that, which is not small government, and I agree. I've been very vocal about Trump not being a very small government guy. But I do think we need to create a hierarchy of concerns, right? And probably at this time, from my position, and maybe you might disagree, let me know. Globalism is probably the bigger threat at the time. Are we going to see our political leaders, the president and so on, marry us to the World Economic Forum, the UN, whatever other globalizing type movements and groups are out there? And there may be some that we've never even heard of, right? I mean, there's a lot of theories right now about some of the behind the scenes, undercover type interest groups that are trying to put their thumb on the scale and move the world into a more globalized type government and operation. Is what Trump is doing right now, is it globalism? Now, it's going to be hard to appease everybody and persuade everyone, because there is always the possibility that, hey, this is 3D chess. What we see as not globalist actually is. It's all playing into their hand. They need this to happen and for this to happen. And to that group that is convinced, hey, we're all being played, which I think you do need to ask yourself always, am I being played? After all, our show, Shields and Arrows, I mean, kind of the theme, almost every single episode, you can kind of summarize it as, hey, you've been played a little bit. You've been played a little bit by your preachers. You've been played by bad Bible translations. You've been manipulated in a lot of ways. Once again, my Sunday School series right now is Deceived. Has Christianity become a cult? So always ask yourself, am I being played? Is somebody trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Based upon what knowledge we have at the moment, what observations we can make, is Trump the most pro-globalization president that we could have, right? Comparing him to the likes of a Barack Obama or a Joe Biden, comparing him to early examples. George Bush, I was young for the Bush administration in a lot of ways, so it's hard for me to say necessarily. I know that he was not nearly as, I'm trying to think of the word, abrasive as Trump in a lot of his foreign policy and his speaking. And it's an interesting thing to... Then I read your comments and I got completely off track. I need to quit reading them, but they're interesting to me and I want to engage with you. But my point is, when you compare him to other political leaders, I am not entirely convinced that Trump is a globalist. All right? I don't think he is, and I have my own opinions. Now, before I go into the case that I'm going to make, let's look at some of the proposed arguments that you may get from some who do think that Trump is a globalist. I think one, the fact that Trump has close ties with Israel, right? Netanyahu's been in the White House. Trump has made a lot of his policy about ending the war between Israel and Gaza. And Israel's a hot topic right now, okay? Whether for absolutely legitimate reasons, which we can have those discussions if you want, like how involved does the United States need to be with Israel? Can Israel not just take care of itself? Do we need to be sending aid and all these things? Those are all conversations that you're free to have. You can discuss foreign policy all you want. There's definitely the more, I guess, conspiracy theory group who says, hey, I'm connecting these dots, this leads to this. This is a whole lot more about this is a whole lot more than just a skirmish between Israel and Hamas. Israel is using the United States to achieve some other ventures of grandeur, right? Hey, they want Iran. Okay, there's a lot of conversation about Iran right now, and is the United States going to go with a war with Iran? I'm saying it like they do, Iran. And the protests going on in Iran, which a lot of the liberal media are being silent about. I don't see Greta Thunberg getting all that upset about the protest going on in Iran. Doesn't quite fit the narrative there. They need to focus on how evil Israel is, because Israel represents Western colonialism, I guess. So, okay, fine. If you're looking at Trump's ties with Israel, his dealings with Israel, which it's not new to him, the United States has been heavily involved with Israel for a long time. Maybe you can say, well, there's this globalization going on, and hey, Israel's got their hand in a lot of different places trying to bring about their interests. AIPAC certainly has ties to other nations, and I don't think anybody here likes AIPAC. But then again, Israel, I think, does have enemies. Iran. There would be, certainly you think of these other Arab nations. I don't think that Israel and Egypt are the best of friends. I don't certainly get that. I don't know that Turkey and Israel are the best of friends. So if the United States is trying to achieve globalism, I guess you could argue, well, maybe they're trying to do so, but first you got to take out Iran and Turkey and Egypt and all these other nations. It's just, I don't think Trump's efforts to end the Israel-Hamas war and backing Israel is exactly the, hey, let us all come together, hold hands, sing Kumbaya, raise the flag of the UN over all the earth. I don't think that really is attributing to the globalist efforts. So I don't think that you can just claim that Trump is a globalist. Once again, we're trying to find what is the most important issue right now. And I think we need to really consider, hey, the most important issue, the thing that we really need to avoid more than anything right now to stop the bleeding is a globalist type president. And I would be willing to propose I don't think Trump is. Now, another one is Trump is heavily involved in Ukraine and Russia. There's another matter at hand, right? Why do we have our hand in everything? Involved in all these other countries, what deals are going on? Who knows? There may be theories about how this all ties back to Israel and Hamas as well. I mean, I don't know. But I will say once again, to this effort of globalism, when you consider Barack Obama, how he talked tough on Russia in a lot of ways, but then when it came to actually standing up to Russia, we never really did anything, and Russia took ground in Ukraine when Obama was in office. I don't think that Trump is more of a globalist than Obama. And also, America has been funding, your tax dollars have been paying for the killing of many Russian troops. I think that's just kind of how it is. I mean, there's been how many American munitions, planes, or have we given Ukraine planes? I know that Poland's been giving them planes. You lose track of all these things. Has America given Ukraine planes? I think so, but maybe not. Yeah. Well, okay, we've given them retired F-16s, okay, for spare parts, what they say technically. And then European countries also supplied F-16s, probably provide, either directly or indirectly, we've given them planes. We've given them probably bullets, and I know we've given them javelins and things like that. So we have absolutely been involved with helping Ukrainians kill Russian troops. Not exactly the best for a uniparty, the world come together, Russia, United States, everybody getting under one banner. It really much is more reminiscent of the Cold War days, in which there is really a strong divide between the Eastern and the Western hemispheres. Now, I guess if you're kind of painting the picture of, well, globalization is not really going to be accomplished globally, but more so regionally, think 1984 with Oceania, which is, America and England and so on, combined together, and then you've got West Asia, is that right? West Asia and East Asia, maybe more segmented, broken up into quadrants like that, maybe. But I think under Trump, we're seeing stronger divisions between nations. Think about how soft Biden was against China. Now, some of you may say, well, that's inflaming things. It's leading us closer to World War III, which I haven't seen happen yet. There were a lot of people that were saying if Trump bombs Iran, we're going to be in World War III. He bombed Iran, and that didn't happen. So it doesn't seem like we're heading any closer to globalism. If anything, we're getting back more to an isolated, hey, it's the Western countries against Russia and China and so on. And once again, Biden was super nice to China. China was just pushing them around and getting whatever they wanted, really. And Trump has finally come along, and he's been tougher on China, I would say, anyways. They have not taken Taiwan yet. We'll see if they decide to do that. Clearly, I would just say this. China must have a little bit of respect for Trump, or maybe just respect for America in general, because they didn't do it under Biden even as weak as Biden was. They were like, well, we still don't want to take a chance against America. Or maybe it's all a ploy and Taiwan isn't really a big deal, even though it seems like they're a big deal. So once again, I don't see anything in the Israel and Hamas war that we see globalist sprinklings. If anything, it's just kind of getting back to the old alliances and segmenting of nations. Whether or not you like the foreign policy of it, being involved in foreign wars. I'm just speaking strictly to the matter of globalization. This is a binary issue, right? Globalization or not globalization. Which one makes this a better way forward, or is at least leading us away from globalism? I'm not saying that you can't be anti-globalist and not get into foreign conflict. What I'm saying is, if Trump is a globalist, I don't see how the conflicts with Israel and Ukraine and Russia are attributing to that. It doesn't seem that we're getting any closer. As a matter of fact, once again, thinking about this matter of Greenland, how is that building towards globalism? That's just drawing a divide between the United States and Europe all the more. It'd be interesting to hear what some of you think. Do you think that we need to acquire Greenland? I haven't looked into it much. Everybody apparently is an expert now. It's funny how that works. The second that Trump comes out about anything, everybody's an expert. Oh, ivermectin, that's a horse dewormer and it's not used for people. Actually, it is. And maybe it's even shown to be helpful for people. But everybody becomes an expert on Israel and Hamas. Everybody's an expert on Russia and Ukraine. I'm one of those hopefully the thing that you find interesting about my show is I'm willing to say, I don't know. I don't really know, but what about Greenland? Does it have oil? Does it, what is the benefit? I know they're saying like shipping lanes, right? It's kind of a power play against China, controlling some of these shipping lanes and so on. Strategic for Russia. I don't know. Let's have the conversation, I guess. I don't know why we need Greenland, but also I can't really articulate why it's a horrible, terrible, bad thing that the United States doesn't control Greenland as compared to, who is it? Is it Denmark that controls Greenland? Once again, I'm just showing you how much I know. Who controls Greenland? It is Denmark, right? Yeah. So it's controlled by Denmark. It's an autonomous territory, I guess, but technically Denmark controls it, as far as defense, foreign policy matters. So I do not think, all right, when we're talking about the issue of globalism, that Trump is leading us towards globalism. I think we are moving further away. And I think that is a good thing. Now, there's other ways to go about it. I imagine there's more than one way to skin a cat when it comes to avoiding globalism. Does it have to be done through acquiring Greenland? Does it have to be done through getting heavily involved in the Russia-Ukraine conflict? No, I don't think you have to get involved in those things. But all the same, I would still take, and I really do mean this, for all those who are great critics of Trump right now, I still think that we are in a better position with Trump in office than we ever were with Biden in office or with Obama in office concerning the security of our border. Even though I would love to have the wall built, at least there is deportations going on. There is reinforcement of the policies concerning illegal immigration. So those are all good things. I like that. I think that, once again, we want it all. And when we don't get it, we get frustrated. I do think that right now we're in a better position because we're not trending towards a globalist type government, type administration. I would say, this is my position, I think Trump's policies seem to be much more geared towards American dominance. I think Trump, he believes that America must be the preeminent nation. I think that's his position. I think that Trump, it's not that he's a globalist. It's not that he's, I don't know that he's necessarily beholden to someone. Now, maybe he is, right? And once again, there's a lot of those, the younger crowd especially, who are kind of into some of the ideas about AIPAC, about some of the motivations of Israel and Netanyahu and so on, right? They may say, yes, Trump is beholden to someone. I'm of the opinion, at least right now, I think Trump, his entire ethos is much more, hey, we need to make America the most dominant, powerful nation on the face of the earth. And we've got to make big moves that display that. So if there's a conflict going on, we have to be the ones negotiating it, right? He's the one in charge. Israel and Hamas, once again, I know there'll be some that say, no, Trump's not in charge. He's a puppet and he's doing what he's told. Okay, that's fine. That's certainly you're entitled to your theory. And maybe you're right. When the dust settles on all this, we will see the writing on the wall, and oh, it was there the whole time. My thoughts are, I think that Trump sees America as the most important nation, so therefore we're going to be involved. If it's Russia and Ukraine, we're going to be involved. It does go back to the idea of America as the world's police, right? That foreign policy that we have got to make sure that everybody answers to us if they're going to do anything. That's just the American dominant mentality, and I think that Trump has just taken it to a level that we have not seen, a level that we haven't seen. America must be negotiating with Russia and Ukraine, right? We've got to be there. We've got to be doing all these things. America must have Greenland, right? We've got to have it for military strategic purposes, whether it's natural resources. We have got to have it. America, and probably in Trump's eyes, some of this is my speculation, but what have you, in Trump's eyes, America has not made a big play in a long time, right? What have we done? Before Trump, what was the last thing that America did that people thought, oh, wow, that was impressive? Bin Laden? Maybe? Right? Like, that's when the people were in the streets shouting, cheering, USA, USA. The fact that it took us 10 years to get him, I mean, hey, maybe he's really elusive and you got to give him more credit than that, Al-Qaeda and how sneaky they are, slippery they are, maybe. But America has not had something that you look at and say, wow, right? That's American exceptionalism. Whether, maybe you go back to shock and awe, the days after 9/11, go back to the days of Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, kind of visions and imagery that comes to people's minds. The moon landing. Now, let's pause there for all of our friends who have questions about it to give you the chance. But the point is, hey, when did all the world just step back and look and say, wow, look at America. They are the dominant nation. They are powerful. I think Trump wants that. Trump wants America's moment. He wants to be the guy in charge when it happens. What can he do, right? And I think probably cost to benefit ratio, getting in an all-out war with Russia, not the best. Bringing peace between Israel and Hamas, I don't know, right? They're going to be fighting and fighting and fighting. Who knows if that's ever going to really stop? Probably not till the Lord returns. Greenland, though, much more realistic, much more doable. So we must have Greenland. America must display dominance over South American countries. We're just going to go in and just kidnap the president of Venezuela, which is hilarious, and I think it's great in the sense of how funny is it and amazing it is that we can just say, yeah, we're just going to kidnap your president just anytime we want, and it's not going to be hardly any trouble, and we're just going to make memes about it, which is pretty funny, right? Regardless of how you feel about getting involved in foreign matters. At least we're dealing with people in our hemisphere. We're not doing things way off, wherever. Here we are, and dealing with Venezuela, who I think does send drugs to the United States and whatnot. I'm just saying, why settle for Venezuela? I want Mexico, right? That is my Christmas wish for next year. I want Mexico, okay? Do it. So I do not think that Trump is a globalist. I don't think Trump is a globalist. I think Trump is an imperialist, okay? And I don't use that word really derogatory, because this theory about the United States being an empire has really been here for a while. Michael Knowles, I have a lot of respect for him. He is very conservative. My biggest complaint is he's a Catholic. He needs to be a right divider. He is much more of the mentality that America is an empire. And so therefore we should expand the empire. We need to do the work of the empire. And here's something for you to ponder, for you to consider. The world has had empires from the beginning. I mean, really, almost right off the bat. Cain went and built him a city. You have, right after the scattering of the nations at the Tower of Babel, you have Shinar, you've got Babel, you've got the empires of Sodom and Gomorrah, if you will, the alliance of these kings and so on. The world has pretty much had empires going all the way back. And I think an important question to ask ourselves based upon what we've seen, and we are conservatives, right? We believe in, hey, the wisdom of the world, and well, I say that sounds bad. The wisdom of history, let me use that, not the wisdom of the world, but the wisdom of history. There are certain things that are just going to happen, right? Man is going to display the capacity to do amazing things with technology. He also has the capacity to take that technology and do horrors beyond your, worst dreams. While man may rebel against God, God will ultimately bring all things unto himself, right? And so that's just the wisdom of history and what we see. Another potential wisdom of history is that there will just be empires in the world. Potentially, it is just a necessity. Now, I'm not telling you I'm pro-empire here. What I'm saying is, one of the things is that you need to do, as a good Bible student, as just a person who thinks and tries to engage in intellectual conversation, is just consider the possibility, are you wrong about something? I am pro-small government. My ideal world is that we are nation states. Oklahoma is a nation state. Texas is a nation state, and so on. The federal government is almost non-existent. Almost. And maybe even not necessary. Rather, there is just the alliance between these nation states that if there is a threat from another nation militarily, we will come to one another's aid. So Oklahoma can be Oklahoma. We will barter and trade and deal with other states to meet the needs that we have. The other states will do likewise. But we do not have this overarching federal government. And so therefore, not an empire. Each state's concerned with their own matters. That's my ideal picture there. Maybe my ideal picture is not realistic. Maybe my ideal picture does not go with the wisdom of history. If there is not an empire, or if an empire is absolved, then one will come in to fill the void. And when you don't have that, you kind of have chaos to some degree. After the collapse of the Roman Empire, there was some chaos. Then you have the flow of the Holy Roman Empire, the Catholic Church now running things. You have the empire there. You've got Constantinople, the Eastern Empire, right? I have my locations correct, right? So you have Eastern Empire, Western Empire. Then from there, you move on. The French have their empire to a degree, and then England has their empire, and England really is the dominant empire. The sun never set, right, on the British Empire. After the British Empire, what do you get? Well, we beat the British Empire, and so then we become the empire. That's kind of what America has been. So I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying maybe we're noticing a pattern, and that's just kind of how the world works. So if I'm really trying to give my honest observation of where Trump is right now, and maybe I'm ignorant, maybe I'm being played and he is a stooge of somebody else who is really the man behind the curtain. But if I'm just to give my speculation of where Trump is right now, I think that he has bought into that idea that somebody's got to be the empire. Somebody has got to wield all the power. Somebody's got to wield the club. And I'm going to be the one to do it. I'm going to be the one to lead the United States and make them the great nation. We've got to outproduce China. We have got to military China. We have got to expand China. We've got to acquire more land. And because we've got to have the empire, we cannot just be stagnant. Because while you're being stagnant, somebody else is growing. Somebody else is being prepared, gearing up to take your stuff. And so I really reflected on that today with all the conversations surrounding Trump, Greenland, Venezuela, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas. I mean, just all of it, everything going on the world stage, what nations are saying what people in the United States are saying what. An interesting observation for you is the truth is, think about the prophetic age of tribulation. That Israel, until they repent, there will be a course of events that follow in which the Antichrist will set up his one world order. He will have an empire. And then that empire will be supplanted by the empire that is the millennial kingdom. Christ will reign. He will have his empire. The land of Israel will be greatly expanded. All nations will look to him. Now, there is the matter of nations in which, okay, maybe there is some sovereignty there to some degree, but even then, I mean, the Roman Empire, there were nations that existed within it, but there was still the empire. So, I don't know, maybe imperialism is just the rule of the world. It's like gravity. I don't know. I would be willing to try to see if that's not the case. That would be kind of my hope. If it's not true, though, what empire is going to fill the void? The Chinese Empire, the Chinese-Russian Empire, something else? I mean, I don't know. Do the European countries even have the guts anymore to stand up against those of the Eastern world? That is one of the things I'm afraid of, is because here's another interesting thing, and this is not a part of my discussion, really. It's just kind of bringing me to this point. Whether you like them or not, the Eastern world is a hard culture, right? In the sense of these are hard men. They live in very difficult climates, whether it is Siberia, whether it is, the jungle or the desert. These are hardy and strong people. And the Eastern world is not caught up in transgenderism. They're not caught up in feminism. They're not caught up in all these things because you know what they're busy doing? They're busy surviving and they're busy fighting each other. These people are at war all the time. Now, China has maybe had some times of peace, I guess. I don't think there's peace within China considering the private citizens and the government. Certainly there's conflict there. And don't be a Uyghur Muslim in China. But even then, China is still very much a third world country when you get outside of, what is it, Beijing? Is that right? Yeah. You get outside those big cities, and then it's much more just like any other, Cambodia or something like that. These are hard people. I don't know that Europe has hard men anymore. Men who have done what they need to do to survive, lived in harsh conditions, and had to fight for what they have. And here's the thing, America not necessarily has either. And the more they try to take away our ability to defend ourselves, taking away gun rights, the more that they try to feminize men, the more they try to make us weaker, the void of empire much more aligns with somebody out of the East getting really powerful, getting really strong. And who knows? I mean, I think the Antichrist is going to come from somewhere over there. Maybe Turkey. I don't know. So with all that, continue if you're somebody who is more of the position of, there's somebody behind the scenes that they are seeking to manipulate us. Trump's a puppet. He's a stooge of somebody else. Maybe. I see Trump more as an imperialist. Not that I agree with it, but I think there's a lot factoring into all of this. And there's two going theories, right? I think there's really two ways for America to continue as a nation. Either we imperialize, we go all out, we take Greenland, we need to take Mexico too. Go ahead and take Canada, that'll be over in less than 12 hours. Because truth is, outside of Toronto and Montreal, probably most of Canada is going to fight with us. And so let's just imperialize and just continue to expand to where we're so big and powerful that no other nation can potentially rival us. That's one theory of thought, and that's how the United States remains. The federal government just continues to expand, which has kind of been the path that we've been on for a while. Alternatively, I want to give it a shot because I think that this is going to be a much better way forward if we can do it, if you can keep it, but you've got to be tough. You've got to be willing to take responsibility yourself. The United States gives up those imperial ambitions and we let the states govern themselves. And if New York wants to buy Greenland, then maybe New York can negotiate a deal. And the United States becomes more nation state instead of one single federal government. I think that's potentially where we're at right now when it comes to our options for how we move forward, because we don't want Gavin Newsom to be our president because he's going to California, our America. And California doesn't want Trump because he's going to deport. He's not banning guns, even though Pam Bondi's terrible. But he's not doing the things that they want him to do. They certainly don't want somebody like I don't know, trying to think of a good politician. That's tough to do. They certainly don't want somebody like I'll give Thomas Massey some credit. There's some times where I feel like he grandstands a little bit, but, they don't want a Thomas Massey, somebody like that. Tom says, my understanding is that it is from a strategic approach. Yes, Greenland has an abundance of minerals. Yeah, okay. And maybe the argument is we are not dependent upon other nations, maybe like Taiwan. And hey, maybe this Ukraine deal is not going to fall through, so we need a backup plan. Who knows what kind of conversations are being had. A. Hannah says the White House released the national security strategy in early December. It stressed American dominance in the Western Hemisphere. One has to decouple what comes out of Donald J. Trump's mouth and what actions that follow. And she also says, we will buy Greenland. You very well may be right. It may be a done deal already, and we just don't know. Tara, great to have you with us. You nailed it. I'm with you 100%, Mark. I think that was probably came in when I was talking about my ideal vision for what the United States looks like. I'm glad that others agree with me. Then Brandon says, hard times make strong men, and etc. Yeah. Yeah, and right now I think there's a lot of strong men that are in other countries that are not ours or Europe. Yeah, Robert does the planking. I don't know what Toby does. All right, let me share something with you that I think is great. It is Dr. White's Thursday night series. If you are not watching Dr. White's Prophecy Reconsidered series, you are missing out. You need to take a look at it. I think it's really good. So over on Randy's... Dr. White's YouTube page, Randy White Ministries. Look at him. He's almost caught up with us. Here's the truth. I'm going to tell you something. He's going to get more subscribers than me. I'm at 8.9 right now, and he's at 6.7, but his numbers keep ticking up, and I keep losing subscribers. Now, that could be due to several reasons. I know some of you who have not unsubscribed before have been unsubscribed from my channel before. I wonder why. Maybe it's because I talk about politics too much and I say things like men are not women and it is wrong to kill babies, right? I say things like that, and I say it maybe more than others do, so my channel gets hit a little bit more. Also, a lot of my subscribers come from my videos that get big views, which I haven't had a video get big views in I don't know, 8 or 9 months. And so I get a bunch of subscribers there. People subscribe and then they watch. Oh my goodness, he thinks that, we're not in the kingdom, and then they unsubscribe. So Dr. White is doing well. He's going to catch me on subscribers here probably in another, 2.5 years, unless I just keep getting some videos that do well, and I'll stay ahead of him a little bit. But he gets more consistent views than me because he's earned it. But this series right here, Prophecy Reconsidered, really, really good. And so session 1, the prophetic question, fate or contingency, really changing the way that I think about prophecy, and I think he's on to something. I think it's a really good investigation into Scripture, because what I think so many people have missed is the idea that prophecy is not a predetermined, unchangeable outcome. And what's funny is we've seen this before, and Dr. White makes this excellent observation. In 40 days, Nineveh will be overturned. What's a prophecy? But in 40 days, Nineveh wasn't overturned. Why? Because they repented. Can that same principle not apply to other things, like Israel receiving the kingdom? Which is why I think Dr. White has solidified to me. We were having this discussion with somebody. I can't remember if it was Luke or someone else who has been commenting a little bit. Great Bible student. Can't remember which one I was talking about that with. But it was Andy Reid, maybe. Somebody proposed that there was never the offer made to Israel to receive the kingdom. And this has kind of sold me, no, there really was an offer, because if Israel would have repented and received Jesus as the Messiah, then the kingdom would have come. Because prophecy is not fatalism. It is, if this, then this. And so I think Dr. White is just doing an excellent series on this. Brandon, you're watching. Brandon's my youth director, and he's a great theologian in training at this time. And your homework assignment, Brandon, is go watch this series, okay? Prophecy Reconsidered. And you need to watch all 5 sessions by, let's say 3 o'clock this afternoon. And I want a minimum 3,000 word summary of each session, okay? Include at least no less than 5 citations. They cannot be from just a website. You've got to have a book, okay? So there you go. But really good. It's one of those things that people are scared to go there, because it kind of does fundamentally change how you see some things. Like, what do you mean? You saying that Christ didn't have to die? That's a hard one, and I'm not there yet entirely convinced that there wasn't some kind of Turabian, Brandon, Turabian 7th edition. And so, getting back to that, how could, and this is one of the questions I posed to Dr. White, so you be on the lookout. I called him this morning. I called him on the phone, and he answered me for once. And I said, hey, Randy, this is a really good series. I think that you're onto something here. One question I have is, how can we have the new covenant without the blood of the testator in Hebrews? How can we accomplish that if Christ was not predetermined by God to die? And that's an if. And Dr. White's going to be working through that. If it wasn't predetermined to suffer, if he wasn't predetermined to suffer, how could we have the new covenant for Israel? Because we got to have the blood of the testator. He's going to be teaching on that next session on Thursday. So a week, essentially in a week, Thursday night, he's going to be exploring that. But really a good study. You should not be scared to study the Bible. I think that's one of the things that back when I was not a Calvinist, I was kind of scared to study the Bible because I did not know. First of all, I was using bad Bible translations. The CSB and, some others that kind of lead you towards Calvinism. But also I was just scared because I read these things and I have no concept of right division and separating what's for Israel for us. And it seems like I'm having to be a Calvinist. And I just remember there were some nights being in my apartment in college that there were tears in my eyes. And so with that, the thing about right division is we're not scared because we trust God's word to be true. Let God be true and every man a liar. So don't be afraid to investigate things. And there absolutely are times that, as Dr. White points out in his study, that I'm going to do this, but if you do this, then I'm going to change my plans. I'm going to do something different. If this, then this. And so seeing prophecy as more contingency rather than fate or determinism, it seems biblical to me. So with that, I think it's just really good. You need to go take a look at it. And it's probably going to really have a big impact on how I speak and how I teach moving forward. Because I'm going to have to reconsider some of my own teachings and thoughts and wording that I use. It's not going to undermine my view on a lot of things, right division and so on, but it will change some things, the way that I approach it. One of the things about Dr. White that is really fun is he's so old. I'm kidding, mostly. My point is, he's been around a long time and he's been teaching a long time. And because he's taught on all this other stuff, he's now broadening his horizons and able to dive into some areas that, as a young preacher, I don't need to be going into that with my church yet, honestly, even though I've been there for nearly 3 years. Or I'm going on my third year right now. I'm in the middle of my third year. Not really time for that. There's other things to be studying, to be teaching on, and things that I personally need to be studying on, more so than diving into some of the more really challenging minutia that might cause some of my church members' heads to spin a little bit. Now I'll get there in a few years, but I'm just not ready yet. The benefit is he's been studying for a long time. And so it's really good seeing some of the things that he has coming out there. I still need to work on just clearly defining so much about the matters of our dispensation, the issues with churches today, because I'm thankful for the time I've had, because I've seen it in people who I go to church with, as well as my own family. A number of issues, areas of confusion and concerns be cleared up for them. And they have found that rightly dividing the Bible makes a whole lot of sense. And that's just been such a great blessing to me. And I need to continue in that a little bit. Some things that I still need to flesh out for them. Some things I need to flesh out for myself. Granted, I'll always be working on refining my views. But being able to turn on a Thursday night Bible study, someone who has already been there and done a lot of that other stuff, and now he can spend his time investigating, reconsidering how we view prophecy, is a really great blessing and a great opportunity. And so hopefully you're taking advantage of all of that, that you are finding good Bible teachers online. Whether it is Dr. White, there's other great ones out there if you're tuning in and listening to, whether it's Andy Reid, other good dispensational teachers. Terrence McLean, who's no longer with us, gone on to be with the Lord, but he has videos available for you to watch, for you to learn from. And then hopefully maybe one of these days people can look back and say, hey, there's that old preacher, Mark Baze, who has shows on YouTube, and it can help somebody. And he was really wrong about that whole Trump thing. He was absolutely being controlled by... No, I'm just kidding. I said Andy Reid. David Reid. Thank you, Toby. David Reid. I appreciate that. Sorry. Yeah. There's names that I'll get mixed up every now and then, but David Reid. Thank you. Brandon, need till 3:30 to learn a new format and all? I'll give you that much time, I guess, but I'm not very impressed. Andy Reid was the Eagles football coach. Or no, that's the Chiefs football coach, right? Andy Reid. That's the Chiefs football coach. Yeah, Andy Reid. There you go. Now, I don't know what his theology is. He's kind of got the looks of a good old Southern Baptist preacher, you know. He makes several trips to the table on, fellowship nights and everything. Back when I was growing up, we would have a fellowship after every business meeting. Every business meeting, we would have a fellowship. And, he kind of looks like a preacher who, every business meeting, every month, he enjoys fellowship. Man, but he's won some Super Bowls, so there you go. Oh, but he was the previous head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. So excuse me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're right. I was wrong. I'm just a young kid, okay? Forgive me. I don't know. So you're right. He was the Eagles coach as well. Donnie Holt, Dave Stout. Are those some other good dispensational teachers you're throwing in there as well, Tara? Very good. Let's see. We got some others. I just want to go up and see some of these other comments here. Of course, we got Ken with us. Rick says they think Jesus would honor their intentions, so we should too. I made a lengthy Facebook post admonishing the Christian community for getting behind this march. Huh. What march are we talking about, Rick? Did I miss out on some context there? Is there an event going on? Is it a march against taking Greenland? Yeah, Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Venezuela, and Iran? Maybe so. Maybe so. Tara's giving some other good dispensational teachers there. All right, everybody. I don't think I have anything else for you today. I'm excited, though. Excited for the Sunday school session that we're going to be doing. Excited for Jose as well. But this has been a fun deal right here, getting to cover this. And you seem to be interested as well. So session number 7, Twisting Scripture on Deceived. Has Christianity become a cult? And so that will be going down Sunday morning at 10 o'clock. 10:05, give or take. Depends on when my kids get out of bed. All right, everyone. Well, nothing else before I cut you loose. I give you the rest of the day off. Okay, Brandon's got to get to work now on writing that homework assignment. Read your first post. All right, Rick, I'm looking for it. Rick says they think Jesus. That's the first one I'm seeing here, Rick, on my list of posts. There may be one that I'm not seeing here. They think Jesus would honor their intentions, so we should too. I do not see any post before that. You made a lengthy Facebook post. Let's just go. I mean, I've got a few minutes. I can go over to Facebook and see what you posted, Rick. I'm looking. I'm going to have to Google. I'm going to have to look you up, Rick. And Rick. Well, is that your old? You have an old page, don't you? Because that's not the one I'm seeing here. Let's see. Maybe this is the one I need to look at. That's from January 6th. I'm not seeing it, Rick, so shame on me. I am sorry. I made every effort to find what you were talking about on the chat. Yeah, I didn't see anything about the Buddhist monk march, Rick. I see nothing on here. I see Paul's comment, Robert's comment, Mary's comment, Myra's comment, Toby's comment, Tom's comment, Toby's, Ken's, Toby, Ken, Toby, Ken, Toby, Toby, Ken, and then yours, Rick. But I see nothing about the Buddhist march. I'm sorry. The proof that I do not see, like, this is what I'm looking at right here. This is the whole list of questions. All right. Top chat, the live chat. Is that what I need to be on? No? I mean, that doesn't change anything for me. So there's proof, I promise, that I do not ignore the things you write. All right, everyone. Well, I need to cut all you loose. We are at an hour now. And Rick can tell me later all about what he said. And I'm sure it was the greatest comment that has ever been commented on or commented in the history of YouTube and the world. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been Shields and Arrows, where we defend the faith, the family, and the fellowship. I hope to be doing this for a long time. Appreciate your prayers, and thank you all for giving me the opportunity. I've got a long ways to go in theology and also just being a person, but I'm trying to learn both from mistakes, from successes, and so on. Hopefully you can do the same. Thank you so much.